Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another couch video, book review, The Black Man's Guide to Self-Improvement and Community Revitalization Post-Pandemic by young brother D. Forte. And this is a young man who I did a consultation session with. And just to be clear, I'm gonna tell you what. He is doing a lot of stuff in his community and he has a great future ahead of him. And just to be clear, I know I'm known, people call me a dating coach, even though I never called myself a dating coach. And you know, I talk about relationships and everything, but really my biggest thing has always been self-development. So, you know, it's one thing when a man told me he got that dime, well, if he was a jock, he got that fine woman and everything. But when a man tells me he's working on some books, he's working on his business, he's succeeded in something, that's what I really appreciate. So when this young man reached out to me, he reached out to me just to give me a copy of this book. And I said, no, let me read it out. If I like it, I'll give it a book review. I'll give it a book review. I'm gonna tell you what, I like books of this nature. Because when I was reading it, I'm gonna tell you what, I was nodding. If my head nods and I'm reading a book, I love it. I love it. This young man has a great future ahead of him. Because one of the things, he touched on many subjects, particularly for Black men, particularly in self-improvement, but then he didn't stick to just self-improvement. He got into the entire community. And I mean, I'm gonna tell you what, I was going through it and it's a brief book. It's a brief book, but there's so much of an opening, so much to give you to think about. That's the key thing. That's the key thing. And he touched on a lot of issues, a lot of small issues. And I'm gonna tell you what, I ain't gonna say they small issues, they issues that we need to think about. And when I say small, in terms of we don't think about it. Like he talked a lot about not just physical health, but mental health. That's very important. That's very important, particularly with Black men. As a group, we probably go to the doctor the least, but we have a lot of issues. We have a lot of stress just living in this society, because stress can actually lead to many other diseases within a human being. He talked about, you know, getting checkups and everything. He talked about mental health. There's a big thing about mental health. And you remember I did an interview with a practitioner a few weeks ago about mental health. This is very important. But this young man, as a young man, just touching on that, and he did this early in the book. That's very important. That's very important. But he didn't just focus on health. Of course, he focused on so many little things. I mean, I was sitting there just writing down everything. I was like, man, they just gonna have to buy the book, because this young man was thorough. He was holistic. He didn't leave anything out. He even touched on spirituality. This is very important. But the things that kind of stood out to me just even more, okay, the health piece. He talking about being an entrepreneurship. Like I said just earlier in this video, a lot of people will say, oh, dating coach, but then they totally forget about my money channel. Look, the reality is whenever I talk about money, it don't have anything to do with getting a woman. It is strictly about a man needs money, period, just to navigate this world. And I've never said don't get money. I just said get it for yourself. So he talked about being an entrepreneur. He talked about multiple streams of income, passive income. These things are very important. These things are very important because to move through the world, a man needs money. And like I said, I specifically said, no, he needs it for himself. The woman is the commercial. He needs it for himself. And he talked about this young, and he talked about investments. I was like, yeah. I mean, my head was nodding. I was like, yeah. And one thing he talked about that I talk about a lot is sovereignty. Sovereignty. And that's an important thing. Sovereignty means as a man, you have some control in your life. Let's be real. many black men don't have any real sovereignty in their lives. And it could be just something as simple as having a driver's license. It could be something as simple as just being registered to vote, which he touched on too. Like I said, this small but powerful book touched on many aspects of different things, many aspects. So he talked about sovereignty. He talked about overall manhood. You know, I mean, that's really what it come down to. That's really what it come down to. Just a man, being a man out here. Like a man should be following the house of the man, which I've discussed numerous times. And he touched on, well, not exactly that particular paradigm of it, but just manhood, period. He talked about that. But then he didn't just stay on just, you know, what the individual can do. He expanded it to the community, what the community needs to be doing. Because ultimately, no man is an island out here. No, not one single man is an island. Or even you get some, any human being, I don't care what their race is, no one is an island out here. And an important thing is developing that community on many levels. He even touched on the economic aspect of community development and business. And I'm gonna tell you what he presented in this small but powerful book is very, very key, very, very important. Because one of the main things that I really liked about it, because, okay, if we're gonna be honest, somebody somewhere has touched on every single subject, not in a holistic manner like he is, but everybody's touched on these subjects. One thing that made this young man's book stand out, one thing that really made this young man's book stand out, he presented solutions. Let me say that again. He presented solutions. See, one of the issues I have is when someone doesn't present a solution in their work. Even in my books, if people really read them, I present solutions. My focus, at least in what people think are my dating books, what they think are, is really for a man to develop himself. That's my solution. My particular solution for that particular issue. So when I see a young man or any author present some ideas and talk about some things and then present solutions, okay, salute. Because that's the important thing, and that's the important thing to get out of this book. Not only is he talking about different areas, but he's presenting solutions. He's presenting solutions that, and with anything, that at the very least need to be examined, need to be talked about. Because the one thing about men, we're not supposed to sit around and just talk. And I've done videos saying that. That's why I don't deal with a lot of stuff. I don't get into a lot of other stuff going on in this space. Because my thing is, if we're going to talk, it need to be a solution. If it's going to be a debate, true debates are two sides presenting ideas on how to solve a problem. And a true debate is which one is either the best solution, or let's pull some from each side and bring that together to create a solution. That's solution orientated. And that's the most important thing that this young man presented. And it's and it's powerful. And we want to support serious thinking, solution orientated young men such as this young man, D. Fort. Or is it D. Forte? My sincere apologies if I didn't get it right, my young brother. My sincere apologies. But I'm gonna tell you what, the link to D. Forte's website is in the description box. The link to purchase his book is in the description box. We need to support the young men who are making moves such as this. Because here's my thing. It's one thing to talk about, oh, these kids aren't doing this, or they're not doing this, or something of that nature. No, we need to, when we see a young man doing work like this, thinking like this is a young man who's actually out in the community, instead of talking trash about the community, out in the community working to make a difference. Those are the ones we need to support. Instead of like worrying about the young men just doing some stuff strictly for entertainment or views or anything like that. So definitely get this book. This book will be something that I will share with people and definitely promote. So this is very important. So check out the book. It gets 5 stars. Anything such as this that is about men growing into the best version of themselves will always have my support and always need to be supported by other men. All right, so go check out that book. As I said, the links for his website and his to purchase the book off of Amazon in the description box. Definitely support this young man. So that's all I have for today. Yeah, check it out. I'll get back with y'all later. Peace and many blessings.